Good evening. I'm Chris Nisley with the League of Women Voters of Athens County. Welcome to this candidate forum for the Ohio House 95th District Democratic primary. We hope that this forum will provide you with information for the upcoming election. The Democratic candidates for the Ohio House 95th District are Paul Cameron and James Joyce. We appreciate both of them for making time to participate. Before we begin, we have a few voting reminders for the May 5th election. Today, April 6th, is the last day to register to vote or update your registration. You can update online by going to voteohio.gov, and the County Board of Election offices are open until 9 p.m. tonight. Early voting will begin on April 7th. If you want to vote by mail, you must submit an official absentee ballot request form. And if you plan to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, May 5th, you can verify your polling place by contacting the County Board of Elections office or by using the polling place search tool on their website. You can see our entire voter guide online at vote411.org, and paper copies will be available in Athens County libraries later this week. I will begin by explaining the forum procedures which each candidate agreed to in advance. Tonight's forum will include an opening statement for each candidate, questions submitted by the public, and then a closing statement from each candidate. Candidates will have 2 minutes for their opening statement, 2 minutes for the closing, and 1.5 to answer each question. There will be no rebuttals. The order for speaking will rotate, and I will indicate who speaks first. The candidates can see our timekeeper, who will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining, then 15 seconds, and when their time has expired. If a candidate continues speaking, I'll say thank you and move on to the next speaker. Candidates are invited to share their qualifications and experience and to talk about their plans and proposals. Candidates are asked to focus on topics relevant to the stated question and to avoid personal attacks and raising issues that are unrelated to the office being sought. If they go outside these guidelines, I may stop the forum and remind you of the guidelines. We now begin our opening statements. James Joyce, you may speak first. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is James Joyce. I am a 20-year-old college student studying computer science and artificial intelligence at Ohio University. And I'm running for state representative because I believe that our district deserves a representative who understands the challenges that face young people, working families, and our small communities. I grew up in the greater Cleveland area. I am the second youngest of 5 children, and growing up, I watched my parents build a small business from the ground up and saw the long hours and determination that they put into building that business and the values that it takes to be successful and to achieve your dreams. And those are the same values that I will be bringing towards my campaign and to representing all constituents within the 95th district. I know that there are a lot of issues that people are facing, and the main ones that are here are things like the cost of utilities being too high, which is why I'm heavily focused on lowering the cost of utilities through transitioning to renewable energy like solar power and the use of batteries, as well as strengthening our education system so that we have a well-educated populace and well-educated future generations that can lead this nation forward and together. So overall, I'm here to fight for a new and better path forward, bringing all of us together into a better future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Paul Cameron.
Good evening. I'm Paul Cameron, an activist and organizer from Belmont County and member of the Ohio Progressive Democratic Caucus. I work with Belmont County Unify, a chapter of Indivisible, and Ohio Valley Mutual Aid. I'm a scout leader, retired Army with 24 years of service, and a member of the NAACP and the ACLU. As a mail carrier, census worker, field surveyor, and construction project manager, I spent the last 20 years traveling and working throughout District 95. I've seen the small towns, once proud centers of the coal production that fueled the industries along the Ohio River. I've seen the boarded up and abandoned buildings that speak of a time once prosperous. I know firsthand the failure of industry. I grew up in a steel town in the 1970s and 1980s and watched the mill that was the economic center of my hometown fail. The coal towns were soon to follow. Residents of small towns that once had ready access to grocery stores, doctors, small businesses, and other essential services now must travel significant distances to find what once was local. Our district is the largest and most rural in the entire state of Ohio. In addition to a lack of access to basic resources, there is a scarcity of good paying jobs and opportunities for advancement. Our quality of education suffers, and we have difficulty attracting and keeping qualified teachers for advanced subjects. The challenges facing our district are daunting, but as your representative, I will focus on community revitalization, restoring the downtown areas of our small towns, and helping to establish small, locally owned businesses within those spaces. Recentering our communities will give us the foundation to address the other problems facing Southeast Ohio. I have the leadership experience and familiarity with District 95 to work with local leaders to establish a new era of prosperity for Southeast Ohio.
Thank you. Now we move to the question and answer portion of the forum. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Candidates, should you need a question repeated, please ask and I'll be happy to do so. Now this first question, I will put a little bit of an explanation with it because I think both of you did quite a good job in explaining your reasons for running. So that is the very first question. What are your reasons for running? So what you might point to maybe are maybe some, you might highlight some experiences you've had in the field, or if there was a pivotal moment at which you decided to run for office. So Paul, you will be the first one to address that, and you have 1.5 minutes.
I have been an avid follower of politics for a long time. I've largely followed national and international politics throughout my adult life, having worked as a military intelligence specialist within my active duty time in the Army. I've been working to get involved with the activist communities in my area for the last decade. Wanting to see more and more progressive ideology pushed within our society. Tired of seeing the status quo, one party taking things more further into harm of the citizens, and a second party not doing much to stop that. So I've been looking at the political landscape, looking at the right time to get involved. And this seemed to be the right year. There was just so many grievances over the last year of what this regime has done to our society, and felt that it was time to step up and do something and ensure that we did not leave any seat unchallenged.
Thank you. Okay, James, your reasons for running?
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the opening statement, I'm the second youngest. I have a younger brother, and growing up, my parents started their own small business, and I watched that. I'm also a second generation immigrant. I learned about how my grandparents came to the United States, immigrating from Poland with nothing and working in factories and then building up and having their own small business. And what I learned as I got older was that those stories of the accomplishments of my grandparents and my parents living out the American dream, starting with nothing and going somewhere, were quickly becoming less and less possible, which directs me back to my younger brother. I wanted to make sure that my younger brother could achieve the things that he wanted to achieve and that the American dream was alive for him because I believe that everybody should be able to achieve their dreams and to move forward and to do what they want. And so I want to address the problems that we have in the system, the struggling middle class, the rising price of living, so that everybody can, through their own work, achieve what they set out to achieve.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and we'll move on now to the next question. And James, you will be the first one to answer this one. And it is, what are your policy priorities?
Yes. So my first policy priority is lowering the cost of utilities. The main way that I'm looking to address this is by implementing solar energy and batteries, mainly using solar energy to help generate cheaper, more cost-effective energy, as well as introducing save as you pay loans to allow people to put solar and batteries on their own houses so that they are less reliant on the grid, where whatever money that they are not paying in utilities that they usually be paying in the utilities because of the improvement that they have on their house, that is the payment towards paying off the loan so that they can get the money up front to be able to make the improvement and then pay off the loan in general. And then another high priority for me is education. As a 20-year-old, I've recently gone through the United States education system. I'm currently in it in college, and it has a lot of improving to do. I want to focus on uh, lowering our reliance on standardized testing to ensure that teachers can focus on actually teaching our students instead of teaching to a test. I've talked with teachers who have admitted to me that they feel like they are worse teachers because of how constrained they are to what tests they have to prepare their students for.
Okay, thank you. And Paul, now your policy priorities.
Yes, my policy priorities, the our district, Southeast Ohio, and more generally, we have a lot of challenges facing us. We have a poverty problem. We have a lack of ability to available jobs, decent paying jobs, lack of resources, education. There's so many different aspects, but what I see as the main core of things is the is our communities. We have lots of communities, towns that are have boarded up buildings. They're areas that we towns that had 5 grocery stores 20 years 30 years ago now have nothing. There's people have to drive further and further. Costs are rising. My priority is to focus on community revitalization plans and programs that get funding into towns to restore the existing buildings that can be salvaged or to demolish and remove buildings that are unsalvageable. Get small businesses into those buildings, into those spaces that are locally owned, provide local jobs, and then build from there to establish a foundation that can address the other problems that are plaguing Southeast Ohio.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, and Paul, you'll be the first one to address this. How will you learn about and represent the diverse needs of your constituents?
So our district is roughly about 2/3 conservative, historically speaking. We've had a recent restructuring that brought Athens into our district, which definitely changed the landscape thereof. I plan to get out and to regularly get out into the community, to get out to the local organizations, the parties, the town and county meetings, the commissioner meetings, the board meetings of the villages, and to get out and to talk to the local leaders, regardless of party, and to address the issues that are on the ground. This is an area that has a proud history. There's generations of people who have been here, who have seen through the agricultural era of the 1800s, through the coal era, and into the modern era. And so I plan to work with all parties, regardless of affiliation, to address the needs of this largely rural district.
Thanks. Okay. And James, you're the same question. How will you learn about and represent the diverse needs of your constituents?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer that as a representative, it's my responsibility to go out and to learn of what the problems are. And within my campaign, that has been meeting with local leaders and is something that I look forward to continuing if elected. Um, like Paul said, as a representative, we represent everybody. So it's meeting anybody that is willing to talk to me to hear about anyone's problems, whether that's going to different board meetings, that's meeting with different local leaders, that's hosting events where people come in and talk about whatever issues are on their mind, as well as ensuring that there are ways that people can contact me online, whether that's being responsive through Facebook, Instagram, or emails and letters, and to always ensure that there are open ways of communication to allow people that are concerned about what's happening to let me know what is on their mind so that I can better help them.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next question will be James, you'll be answering this one first. And it is, why are you particularly qualified to address your district's pressing needs?
I'm a firm believer that being a representative, the most important thing is the ability to listen to what others say and to not just be focused on yourself. And I like to believe that I am good at listening to others and hearing what is happening in their life and then being curious enough to ask, how can I help you? How can whatever position I'm in help you? And I believe that is one of the most important things for a representative to have, as sometimes it becomes our job to put aside our own personal beliefs to vote for what the public wants or what the public thinks that it needs, because that's what a democracy is, what a representative democracy are. Our job is to listen and then report back what the people want, not necessarily what we want. And so I believe that is why I am qualified.
Okay. And Paul, why are you particularly qualified to address your district's pressing needs?
Over the last 20 years, since I've moved back to Ohio after my period of active duty military service, I've uh, I've had jobs throughout the district, and I've worked in every single county of the 6 counties within this district at one point or another. I've traveled through, I've seen the small towns, I've interacted with the people. Um, I have a background where I can speak with and connect with the local people. I've worked as an enlisted member of the military. I've worked in construction, and I have the ability to connect with people and to speak in a language that they understand. I've dealt with even though I myself hold progressive values, I've dealt with being able to speak with conservatives and reach across the divide to speak in a language that we can both understand and find common values, common cause in order to address issues and to avoid the partisanship that would normally be expected or that would normally come in this modern day. And so I feel that I have that ability to reach across and to get others to be able to see the value of our agendas.
Okay, thank you. All right. And this next question, Paul, you will answer first. And it is, what is your experience with budget and fiscal policy?
My experience with budget and fiscal policy primarily, I currently work as a construction project manager for our Parkersburg, West Virginia branch for a small glass and glazing company. I have to deal with managing the projects and keeping them within budget. I do a fair extent of the estimating for my projects, and then have to make sure that we have those within budget. I've also served as a church treasurer in two different congregations. Currently with my current congregation as well, where I have to develop the budget, and we present that for presentation to the board. And then I'm the one responsible for managing our payments and keeping ourselves within the budget, and following the policies based upon what has actually been appropriated, and ensuring that the will of the board is actually followed.
Thank you. And James, your experience with budget and fiscal policy?
While I don't have as much experience managing a budget, I have spent a lot of time focusing on what the state government should spend money on. And I've spent a lot of time talking with people and figuring out what is necessary for the state government to spend money on and what is less necessary for the state government to spend money on. And I think that is a very important aspect of creating a well-rounded budget, is ensuring that money is going where it needs to go when it needs to go. Recently, the state government, is spending money on helping the Browns team build a new stadium, which is perhaps not where money needs to be going while we have citizens starving, while we have veterans who can't get the health care that they need. So less practice with managing a budget, but a hyper focus on understanding where money needs to go and how to get it there.
Okay, thank you. Next question. James, you'll be the first one to answer this. What, if anything, should our state do over the long term to ensure quality rural health care?
There is a lot that the state government can do to ensure that there is uh, accessible, affordable rural health care. Funding local hospitals to ensure that there is a hospital within, less than 30 minutes or an hour of anybody, is a feasible thing that the state government can help ensure, as well as creating a network to help move people quickly when they need specialized treatment. My mother is a doctor, and I've talked to her extensively about healthcare policy and the realities of what it's like to be a small business interacting with the state government on healthcare. And we've talked about things like setting up systems that allow the easy, cheap transport of patients from hospital to hospital to get more intensive care if needed without driving up costs for patients.
Okay, thank you. And Paul, your answer to what, if anything, should our state do over the long term to ensure quality rural health care?
Well, over the last year, we've seen the current administration come in and try to dismantle Obamacare again, the Affordable Care Act, and we have an administration setting policies to raise insurance costs, and to make the availability of small rural hospitals and community medical centers less viable. Um, the president has said that he feels that many things shouldn't be done at the federal level. They should be done at the state level. Well, my feeling is that if the federal government will not pursue an actual policy of universal health care, then let's pursue that at the state level, and let's get these policies enacted at the state level if that's the direction they'll go. So we need to make sure that we have that funding. We have people taken care of for health insurance, and we need to make sure that that health insurance and universal health care is the ideal, Medicaid as it is, and to make sure that that money is available in order to maintain our existing medical infrastructure and to expand into the revitalized communities with medical clinics.
Great. Okay. And Paul, this next question will be yours first to answer. What, if any, steps should be taken to curb gun violence in our state?
Certainly. It's a particularly troubling situation in our country right now that there is a culture of gun violence that many within government fail to recognize as a concern. The Second Amendment is certainly a foundational principle of this nation. However, that does not necessarily mean that every single person needs to have the access to an assault rifle. There are red flag laws. There are other actions that can be taken in order to make sure that people who are particularly a threat, who are concerned to the community, can be denied access to a firearm. But I think it's also important that we have proper firearms training, that if you want to have access to a firearm, then you need to have training. Myself, I am a trained range safety officer with the National Rifle Association as part of my time serving as a scout leader. And I feel that it is important. We're not going to get guns out of society, but it is important to ensure that if they're going to be there, that people are trained to use them safely.
Thank you. And James, what, if any, steps should be taken to curb gun violence in our state?
Yeah, this is a very big issue. As somebody recently in high school, I have lived through the lockdown drills that have become commonplace. My school has gone on an actual lockdown to a threat to the school before. And those are very stressful times that I should not be happening in the United States. And I think there's a lot of different things that can be done independently to help curve uh, gun violence in the United States. One of those would be the media not making it attractable for people to commit gun violence to create attention. The idea of any publicity is good publicity.
Mhm.
Focusing on the mental health of people so that they do not resort to gun violence. And then, as Paul was saying, training. I am a firm believer you need a driver's license to drive a car. You should have to prove competence and understanding of how a firearm works to own and use a firearm.
Okay, thank you. James, you'll now answer the next question first. What policies will you pursue to promote social and racial justice in our state?
So this is very, very important. We saw with SB1 that the state legislature currently has a target on anybody that doesn't look like me, which is not okay. I am a believer that we are all humans and that we are all equal, and our society should reflect that. So things that I want to do and focus on is focusing on local histories. We are in Ohio. There are large parts of Ohio that were very pivotal in the Underground Railroad and other civil rights movements where we have history of helping and being on the right side of history, frankly. and we should celebrate that and we should make that well known. And so ensuring that local communities can celebrate that history, that people from those communities know about that history is very important to me, as well as pushing through policies to make sure that students that are like in the LGBTQ community feel safe. Here in Athens, we are a sanctuary city. I believe in that, believe in creating an environment where people feel comfortable to express themselves and be themselves.
Thank you. Okay. And Paul, what policies will you pursue to promote social and racial justice in our state?
Um, I come from a family. I have a mixed race family. I have many members within my family who are LGBTQ. Um, this is definitely a significant priority for me. We've seen situations in this country within the last decade where racism is on the rise, racial profiling. There's We need to focus on getting back to making the racism unacceptable again. We also have to protect the LGBTQ community as well. There are initiatives. There was one just passed in the House right now to ban to modify the indecency laws to prevent drag queen story hour as it's commonly stated. And this is just a chipping block as they continue to attempt to ban transgender individuals. Everyone deserves equal rights. Everyone deserves every equal rights under laws. Everyone deserves to be respected for who they are. We need to especially focus on protecting the immigrant community and making sure that there have due process rights that are protected as they deal with immigration statuses also.
Okay, thank you. And Paul, you will answer this next question first. What, if any, actions would you take to address the threats facing Ohio due to climate change?
So we're definitely looking at a climate change issue here in Ohio. We've been dealing with drought issues within the last years. This is a state that's known for being very plentiful for water, and we've had several years lately where we've had drought conditions. We've had a couple winters where there was no snow whatsoever. We're increasingly finding hotter and hotter temperatures through the winter and into the summer. We need to address the issues where we can. Uh, we have a lot of opportunity in District 95, a lot of open land within this rural area. We have the opportunity to create green energy initiatives. We have areas that would be very conducive to wind farms, wind turbines, areas that would be very conducive to solar farms. However, we need to make sure that should we pursue these initiatives, that we are careful to ensure that these are done in such a way so that they will improve the energy production, reduce the dependence upon dirty fossil fuels, and but at the same time we need to make sure that we keep data centers out of our area, because when you start having an increase in electric production, data centers want to show up to utilize that and pollute the area.
Thank you. And James, what, if any, actions would you take to address the threats facing Ohio due to climate change?
There is a lot to do when addressing climate change. Like Paul said, the introduction of new renewable energy sources, wind, solar, are pivotal in shifting the state away from fossil fuels. But it also goes further than that. We also have to tackle the problem of no public infrastructure for public transportation. If we have buses running, that's less cars, that's less emissions. If we redesign our cities so that they're more walkable instead of car focused, less people are driving, more people are walking, more people are biking, that's less emissions. One of the largest producers of emissions is our agricultural sector, and Ohio is a farming state. So creating techniques that produce less CO2 through our farming are extremely important. This is a large issue that we have the solutions to, but it requires the political will and drive to implement those solutions to bring the shift that is necessary in our society to move away from fossil fuels to renewables and a less of a climate threat that we are facing.
Thank you. All right, for the next question, James, you'll be the first one to answer it. What should the state government do to provide an equitable, quality public education for all children pre-K through grade 12?
Yes. So currently, the Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that our public schools are unconstitutionally underfunded. The first step is addressing this. The state legislature has just straight up ignored the Supreme Court of Ohio. We need to fund our public schools at bare minimum the constitutional requirement. So my first step would be to increase funding for our public schools, as well as, like I said in the opening statement, reducing the reliance on standardized testing so that teachers can actually teach and giving them the trust and the respect to teach and to do their jobs and be professional, which they have lost in recent years, as well as providing free school lunches so that regardless of where you are, you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming. Because when students are worrying about where their next meal is coming, they're not focusing on learning. So, to summarize, really, it's addressing the unconstitutional funding, giving teachers the ability to actually teach, and ensuring that all of our students are fed.
Thank you. Paul, what do you think the state government should do to provide an equitable, quality public education for all children pre-K through grade 12?
I think first of all, James is completely correct. We need to address the funding issue. We need to make sure that all the schools are funded properly and correctly. We need to stop the diverting of public education funds to private charter schools. The private charter schools have their own source of funding, and the taxes that we pay, the property taxes that we pay, are need to be supporting the public schools. The public schools, we need to focus on getting better teacher quality and attracting teachers, especially to the rural areas. We need to have incentives for teachers in higher quality, higher skilled specialty areas such as physics and chemistry to be able to come to this area. We need to focus on trade education. We need to expand trade education to make sure that there are jobs available for students after high school. We need to focus on pre-K, and we need to focus on universal pre-K daycare as well. We need to make sure that these programs are in place and funded by the state for all to be free in order so that struggling parents and families are able to get out and work and have the available daycare necessary.
Okay. And Paul, you'll be the first one to address the next question. How will you work to increase job opportunities for your constituents?
So my key focus is community revitalization. I feel that if we can restore the downtown areas of their communities, we need to focus on getting small businesses into those spaces, small businesses that are locally owned. These create local job owners. These create local jobs. We need to establish those with basic services. You need restaurants. You need grocery stores. You need community centers, libraries, medical clinics, daycares. These are the most important things that we need to get in. We need to make sure there's gas stations. I've driven through towns in District 95 that didn't even have a gas station. So we need to make sure that these are available. We need to we do this. We create communities that people want to live in. People want to stay in. Young people go off to college. They want to come back to these locations. You create a situation that people want to be in. You create a situation where outside business, outside production wants to come in and wants to establish businesses in those areas that tie into the trades from the education. And once you have those trades and those production businesses together, then you create a new era of profitability for the region.
Okay. And James, how will you work to increase job opportunities for your constituents?
One of the major problems that we face out here in the 95th district is, and across the state as a whole, is our crumbling public infrastructure. And I believe that the state government taking this problem seriously and investing in renewing and revitalizing our infrastructure will create thousands of jobs that are well paying, that are humane, that can be unionized, that people can work to help improve their local community by building up that local infrastructure and by working together to reshape the landscape and maintain the infrastructure so that it is a place where businesses want to come to, so that it is a place where local businesses can thrive and grow. Like I said, my parents are local business owners, and having a well economically performing area is extremely important for that small business to stay operational. And so using infrastructure as the backbone to bring in the initial investment, to create those initial jobs, to then begin turning the wheels, to then bring in local businesses and other businesses is my plan.
Okay. And James, will have you lead off with the next question, which is, what is your stance on access to reproductive health?
I am a firm believer that a woman gets to choose what to do with her body. So when it comes to abortion, I believe that the constitutional amendment we passed in 2023 is appropriate, and I do not support the attempts that the Republican legislature has made to subvert the will of the people by trying to get around that constitutional amendment. I also believe that having access to contraceptives and IVF is extremely important so that people get to choose when they want to start their family and how to start their family. I'm also a firm believer in a well-rounded sex ed, as it's been proven to lower teen pregnancies and to lower abortion rates. It's to me, it's clear that a uh, well-informed people make better, smarter decisions, and it's not the government's place to choose when and how you start a family.
And Paul, your stance on access to reproductive health?
I feel that reproductive health is an essential function for women to have a full and realized set of rights within this country. There is absolutely no instance in which their rights should be restricted, and I feel that we have to have a complete um, uh, respect for a woman's right to choose, and that we need to support the right to contraceptive. We need to provide access to contraceptives. We need to make sure that women are not forced into a situation in which they are trapped into an unwanted pregnancy and an unwanted parenting as a single parent, and then find themselves having a reduced opportunity to get decent, well-paying employment because they've been forced by a patriarchal system into a servitude position. They absolutely have every right to choose how their body is under their control, and their decision should be between them and a doctor and not between the government.
Thank you. We'll now move to closing statements, and each of you will have 2 minutes for your final remarks, and we will begin with James.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight and to participating in learning about candidates to make an informed decision. Democracy is a living thing that must be participated in, so thank you for participating in democracy. We covered a lot of topics that are extremely important here tonight, from what we just talked about, gun violence, infrastructure, creating jobs, a lot of important things, and there are a lot of issues that we are facing today. And I truly believe that we need a well-rounded solution to all, that we address these problems, not just for us here today, but for the future generations, so that no other generation has to deal with the problems that we are dealing today. Here in Appalachia, we have a history of extraction-based resources coming in, taking our wealth and leaving. We don't want the next generation to go through the same cycle that we have and to deal with the problems that we are dealing with. The buck stops with us. We need to pick together that this is the time that we change history, that we do not allow it to rhyme with the past. And so thank you for having this opportunity and having me on and talking about everything. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Paul, it's your turn for your closing statement.
The rural nature of Southeast Ohio creates both great challenges and opportunities. There is a history of extractive industry taking both the resources and the wealth out of the region. As we move into a new era, we must be careful to avoid the pitfalls of the past. The open land and windy ridges are prime locations for solar and wind farms, generating electricity to lower costs. The plentiful lakes and parks offer opportunities to bring tourist dollars to the region. Rejuvenated towns with small local businesses have the opportunity to benefit from proximity to those resources. But there are dangers as well. Increased energy capacity and abundant water sources are attractive to data centers, which would use our resources and provide no jobs in return. We must not allow data centers in Southeast Ohio. Real estate developers and private equity investors would create resorts and Airbnbs, driving up local housing prices further. We must keep the tourist industry local and keep out predatory venture capital. Initiatives to eliminate property tax would primarily benefit absentee landowners who maintain property as rentals, while driving up sales tax to unsustainable levels for families already struggling with lower wages and higher prices. We must not support programs which further support the wealthy at the expense of the poor. If you want someone who will fight for the residents of Southeast Ohio against the wealthy outsiders who extract resources from our region and provide little in return, then vote for Paul Cameron. Together, let's rebuild the American dream for Southeast Ohio.
Thank you. That concludes our event. I'd like to thank you both for participating tonight. And we also want to thank the public for submitting thoughtful questions and for tuning in to learn more about this race. Thank you and good night.